Hello and welcome to the Third Sector. I'm your host, Tamara Brinkman. In our society, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit, and it's that third sector that we're here to talk about today. Joining me on today's show, we have first up, we'll have Stephen Hensley from Richmond Community Schools. We're going to talk about STEAM. And then later in the episode, we'll have Dana Mollenkopf from the American Red Cross, our local American Red Cross office. So first, though, I'd like to welcome Stephen to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me today.
So you are the director of STEAM Imagination Lab. Tell us all about that.
So there are two really big parts to my job. The first, I oversee STEAM and our STEAM magnet school, which is called the Richmond STEAM Academy. And the second part of my job is that I oversee the Imagination Lab, or what will be the Imagination Lab, because right now we are in the introductory phases of getting that build and getting it through our board. So we're really excited about that. But those are the two really kind of sections of my job.
Okay. So you mentioned STEAM, and we're going to focus on that today because you've got some kind of exciting news about, well, I'm just going to let you tell us. Tell us what it is, and then take it from there.
Absolutely, thank you. So STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. So in the academy, which will be housed at Hibbard on South L, we're looking for, in the academy, 25 students per grade level, 5 through 8. Okay. So 100 students total. What that means is if you are a current 4th grader, 5th grader, 6th grader, or 7th grader, you are eligible to apply. Now, the one question I've received a lot is, do I have to attend RCS right now to apply? And the answer is no. So if you live in the Richmond area, you are eligible to apply as long as you are grade 4 through 7, because that will be our incoming grades 5 through 8.
Got it.
So Richmond STEAM Academy, what we do is specialize on hands-on learning that's experiential. And we really focus on science, engineering, the arts. Specifically the arts, if we want to talk about that, this area, tons of arts. We are so fortunate to have a vibrant, a thriving arts community, not only at the university level, but even RAM attached to Richmond High School. And then there's a lot of organizations that are in town that are grassroots, that are up and coming, and they're wonderful. And they're going to partner with us, they're willing to, and we're really fortunate about it.
That's super exciting. So we know what the acronym stands for. Why is that important?
Oh, really great question. So the STEAM Academy is kind of born out of this necessity, because that's the mother of all invention, right? Necessity. If you look at Indiana, we know that we're looking at where are jobs, because education not only provides you for the future or the now, we're trying to provide you an education for the future. And research is showing us that jobs in the private sector and the public sector, they're growing. The STEM fields are growing at 4 times the pace as non-STEM fields. The salaries are increasingly competitive. The governor's next level agenda, we can see a lot of priorities on a STEM focus there. So we see the state trending in that direction, and we have a duty and an obligation to prepare our kids for what will come, and STEM is the future. Right.
So obviously there's kind of two, right? We've got STEM, which does not include the A for the arts, and then we have STEAM, which does. So I guess what am I trying to get to? It's why the emphasis on the arts, or who makes the decision to take it from STEM to STEAM?
Oh, great question. Really, the arts, we just pulled on our community. We said, what do we have? What resources, what assets, what can we use?
Right.
And the arts were just a natural thing to pop up that said, hey, we're here and we want to work with you.
Right.
So, and how that integrates in the classroom, we could talk about the creative arts, we could talk about digital design, we could talk about textiles, 2D art. A lot of times parents or administrators, teachers, community people, we think that science or math occur just as science and math. And that is rarely the case. Technology, computer science incorporates a lot of components of digital design. Mathematics. You don't just do math on its own in a bubble. We do math with science or with English. We want to teach these things together. So when we think about the arts, we're thinking, how can we express what we know, express how we do things, our processes, or the products we'll create with an artistic vision or an artistic kind of perspective.
Wow, that's super exciting. So is this the first year of this?
Yes, it is. So Richmond STEAM Academy is brand new.
Okay.
It's launching this fall, so we're taking our first class. It'll be the inaugural class. We're really excited about it. The district is going full force on this, and the community, so the lottery's open, the applications are open, and we have tons of applicants already. So we encourage people to get their application in. If you're interested, do it early so we have it on file and we can proceed.
And I think for our viewers, we've just been putting up on the screen some information about where you can go to access that application or to get more information about that. The RCS STEAM, the website is up there. Now, so you mentioned that you're looking for 25 kids per school?
Per grade level.
Per grade level, okay. And then how many schools will this be at?
Okay, so the STEAM Academy, we're looking for 25 kids per grade level, 100 kids total. It's housed at Hibbard.
Okay.
So it's only at Hibbard right now.
Okay.
We would love if the community says, wow, we really love this, and we have tons and tons and tons, like hundreds and hundreds of applicants. We would love to expand and see what our options are. But right now, it's the first year. We're going to see what the interest is, and if the interest is there, we will grow it. That's the intention.
Got it. And so with that said, then, do you have to be a student of Hibbard? I mean, I know you said anybody can apply, but so I guess you guys work out the logistics of if you don't go to Hibbard, how are we going to get you over there kind of thing?
So a lot of people, that's a great question. Hibbard is a program building, not necessarily, it's not a school.
Right.
Which that's a small detail for a lot of people, but we pull students at Hibbard from other schools to bring to our building because we're a program building. So those students come from Test or Dennis. They could come from Vail or Westview. They can come from anywhere.
Okay.
So there's not a school code associated with Hibbard. It's a program building.
And now is it just Richmond Community School students county-wide that can apply? In other words, or is this open to are students in the other districts open to it?
Other districts are welcome to apply.
Okay, so Hagerstown, our Nettle Creeks, our Northeasterns, Western Waynes can all, their students, you can apply as well. And this is going to kick off in the fall, what are we in, 2023 school year?
Yep, this fall.
Wow, this is just so exciting. So kind of give us, when you're looking at the kids and if you're, could be a kid watching, could be a parent, a grandparent, and they're thinking, wow, I'd love to have my, to apply. Are there any baseline sort of minimum requirements that you have to meet or a threshold in order to even be considered a viable applicant?
Sure, that's a very fair question. The short answer is no, and I'll give you an explanation. So when you look at STEM experiences and STEAM experiences, our program is designed to be equitable. So with that, we envision that as we want to make sure all kids, regardless of your math scores or your English scores, whatever scores you want to look at or data point, we want to make sure that you have access to these experiences. Because we don't really see that there is a mold for STEAM. There's not necessarily this kind of student is successful. We believe that we can work with all students to make them successful. And we're still, the program still is RCS, right? We're still beholden to every state test, all the accountability standards. We're still beholden to all of those. So at the end of the day, our program, we're looking to grow students. We're looking for grow math scores, grow English scores, but not just grow those data points. They're important and they have value.
Right.
But there's a lot more that we can grow other than just a math score. We can grow competencies like interpersonal skills. We can grow competencies like your ability to communicate. We can grow competencies, and those are transferable skills that you can take with you to the high school.
So we didn't really talk about this, but things pop into my head as they do. And I'm just wondering, as you talk about those other intrinsic intangibles that you can go along with this, how does, or have you seen anything where kids who are, the ACEs, the social emotional kiddos that are having some issues, maybe they've had them for years, maybe it's just circumstantial. Do we see any correlation of impact in helping them, or does that become an avenue of helping them to maybe overcome some of those challenges or work through those?
Sure. At the end of the day, we want to provide a top-notch education, not just for kids who are going to be successful on their own because they identify as high ability, or maybe they have a ton of support at home, which is great. We love that. And we will work with you, and you will be successful, and we can grow.
Right.
Everybody can grow. There are kids who are at risk, and we know that. We have tons of data to support that idea, and we can work with them on a different level. It's called differentiating instruction. That's what we do every day.
Right.
Because at the end of what we do, we're educators, right?
Right.
We believe in that every child can learn. Every child should have access to the things they need to learn. We wholeheartedly believe that and endorse that.
Right.
And as the director of the program, it's like ethos of one thing I believe, that every kid should have access and can learn. And STEAM experiences are some of the most fun experiences I remember as not only a student in school, but also like a student at college and graduate school. The STEAM experiences, I think, bring back true joy. Because we think, what is school? I want school to be a place that kids want to be at. They want to come to school every day. They're not dreading coming to school. And not to say they do now. I just don't want to participate in that kind of system. What I want to do is help create a system where students they have joy when they come to school. They love being here. They can make friends. They connect with their peers and their teachers. And we can grow them into not only like academically excellent students, but also excellent people.
Right. That's wonderful. Wow. I mean, we don't have a whole lot more time, and I have so many questions.
Yeah.
I guess we'll put these two, and I'll give you the one. It'll probably take us out of time. But the first is, we hear a lot about schools getting funding cut or the challenges of that. How is this able to work from a funding perspective? And then the second is, are there a few key data points that you're looking to take away from like year one? What is the, what we're looking to define success a little bit?
Yeah, how we know a kid is successful.
A little bit, yeah.
So the first question, funding. We are writing grants all the time, getting grant money for this. We have the district is setting aside dollars for that. And if you have questions, I can reach out to the parties that be or my supervisor and just ask a couple questions about the specifics. Or you can come to a board meeting. I think they're every other week. So we can send those dates out.
Okay.
But when it comes to how do we know a kid's successful? How can we show that they grew in this area? So we can look at hard data points like NWEA, Ready Math. We can look at iLearn. We can look at those really state assessments and see, do we see some growth happening? Which is important. We want to see that. We really want to see it. We need to see it. We can also use common formatives in the district. We have internal measures that are saying like they took a test here or took a quiz here or some kind of assessment that says they grew from this place to this place. We can also internally develop some rubrics for competencies that are harder to measure, like interpersonal skills. How do you measure communication? We will develop a rubric for what it means to communicate effectively and show proficiency in that area.
Wow. Well, we could certainly keep going on and on. I'm very excited for this.
Invite me back.
I will definitely invite you back, and maybe we'll get a student to come along and talk
love it.
about how they've enjoyed it once they've been through a few months of it or something.
Or maybe
like
one of our teachers in the academy. We have 4.
Okay.
So maybe I can invite one of them to come with us next time.
I mean, we could do a whole show, so we might have to revisit that. We are out of time for today, but this has been wonderful. Thank you, Stephen. This was great. When we come back, Dana Mollenkopf from American Red Cross. Stay with us. Welcome back. Joining me now, Dana Mollenkopf from the American Red Cross. Dana, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Dana's going to talk to us today about the American Red Cross, so let's dive into it. It's been around a long time, serves a lot of needs. Tell us about it. Tell us a little bit about the history.
Well, it has been around many, many years. It was founded by Clara Barton back in 1881. And when it was her response to seeing what was happening out on the battlefields, and so she decided that something needed to be done to lend assistance. The Red Cross got its first charter in 1900, and it's interesting. I did not think about this when you asked for me to come on to the show, but March is Red Cross Month. And FDR was the one back in 1942 that first announced March as being Red Cross Month to recognize the service that it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you hear Red Cross, it's typically associated with a disaster, and that's because it is a disaster relief program. There are some educational aspects of Red Cross as well, but primarily it's disaster relief. You hear about the effects of the hurricanes and tornadoes and fires, and locally it's more of a situation of home fires, sometimes multifamily fires. So Red Cross serves people internationally, but then nationally, and then statewide and locally. And when there is a need, the effort is made first to reach out as close to the situation as possible. And if that need is met, then great. If not, it'll be extended regionally, statewide, and then again, things like hurricanes, it goes nationwide. And people are asked to deploy to lend assistance.
Well, we certainly have heard about the American Red Cross responding to a lot of disaster-type situations in our country, and has been around for a very long time. What is the mission, would you say, of the Red Cross?
Well, the mission is to help people in the time of disaster. It's trying to mitigate the impact of the disasters. Locally, it's a matter of trying to assist the families to get back on their own. Unfortunately, we cannot solve all of the problems.
Right.
But we, for example, if there's a fire, we work with that family for several weeks, trying to connect them with local resources, and getting them back on their feet.
Okay. So connecting them with the opportunity to find a new place to live, maybe clothing, could even possibly be helping them with, I mean, in a fire, you could lose your if you're an adult, your identification. You could lose your banking information. You could, I mean, it depends on, you could be running out. If you're running for your life, you're not necessarily grabbing those documents.
Right, and we tell people, we'll talk a little bit about smoke alarm installations in a bit, I think, but we tell people, if you have a fire, do not try to put it out yourself. Go outside, call 911.
Right.
And actually, the first thing you should say when the phone is answered is, I need the fire department. They may be sending the medic, they may be sending the police, but what you need immediately is the fire station needs to be sending people out, because minutes, seconds even can count.
Can make the biggest difference. Wow. So these things can occur any day in a person's life, any time of the year. No one's immune to it. How do you guys, like, what kind of goals would you guys have in the next, like, year or 2 years? What are some big points that you're looking to maybe focus your efforts into, needs that need to be met?
Okay. Well, let's use the example of the smoke alarms.
Okay.
Because in October of 2014, the home fire campaign was started, because on the average, 7 people die in the United States every day due to a home fire.
Wow.
And Red Cross decided at that time to try to cut that number by 25%. And they do that by installing free smoke alarms. The only qualification to get the smoke alarms is that they are needed.
Got it. So you have a home, you don't have one, you
don't
can't
have them,
afford to go
and
buy
if
one.
you have old ones that are on the wall of the ceiling that need to be replaced, we replace them with alarms that have 10-year batteries.
Okay.
And so that program started nationally in 2014. We got involved here in Wayne County in 2015.
Okay.
We were shut down, as many other things, for a couple of years during COVID. But since we started, we have put in 1,323 alarms in 512 homes in the Richmond and Wayne County area. So one of our goals is to continue with that program. The thing is, it's on we need volunteers to help do those installations, because just like with fires, I cannot go out on my own. I have to be deployed and I cannot go out by myself. We have to go out as partners.
Okay.
And so even the smoke alarms, we have to have a team of at least 2 going into the home to install.
Okay. So when you say you have to be deployed, what triggers that?
Typically, a call is made by the fire department
Okay.
to a call number. They contact what we call a duty officer, and they will find out a few pieces of information. 3 things have to be in place for us to provide financial assistance, and that is that there has to be a damage assessment. The Red Cross gets involved if the house is destroyed, if there's damage to the house, major damage, and that is according to a rubric, or they cannot be in the home for 48 hours. So those 3 things, one of those has to be established.
Okay.
The other is that there has to be an identification of the person who is in residence at the scene of the fire, and we have to have identification that that is the person that was living there. So we have to have confirmation of the address of the person and of the damage. The duty officer then contacts someone like me that is on a duty schedule
Okay.
and makes an assignment. We set up a time where we go out and interview the client at that time, and we establish a relationship with them, giving them financial assistance depending upon the size of their family, and then they have some money for hotels or whatever they see as their
Right.
immediate need. And then we follow them again for about 4 weeks.
Right. Often one of the questions we talk about is, what does your staff look like? And you mentioned that your volunteers, you need volunteers, you need at least 2 people to go out and help support the community when these time of needs come up. Tell us about that. Tell us how that works for you guys.
Okay, well, just recently we had a new person that signed up to be a volunteer, so that doubled our staff. We've had people that have gotten involved and then they get involved in other things in the community, so we're constantly looking for volunteers, and people can go to redcross.org,
Okay.
and there is a tab there for volunteer. And with the volunteer tab, you can go down and it even talks about urgent need and opportunities.
Okay.
So if you give a little bit of information, people give information, a little bit of what they're interested in, they will
Okay.
receive a phone call, and it starts the process of getting the person officially designated as a volunteer.
Right. Okay. I think we have a few minutes left with our time, and I want to make sure we get to a couple of things. Blood drives.
Blood drives.
We've been putting up. We've been putting graphics up while we've been talking. Redcross.org, redcrossblood.org. Did I get that right?
Right.
So let's talk about that. That's a big need. We hear about it all the time.
There's a constant need.
Okay.
And in 1941, Red Cross became the first civilian blood program in the
Okay.
country. And Red Cross provides 40% of the blood products in the United States right now. There's a constant need. People that want to donate, they can go to the redcrossblood.org. There's a small box in the top that says find a drive. And if you know a code for a specific drive, you can put that in.
Okay.
Or you can put in your zip code, and it will show a listing of all the drives that are scheduled
Okay.
in that particular area. People can pick one that is convenient for them.
Okay.
It will take them to the times available, click, and very quickly they can get registered. And please, if you do register, keep your appointment. We hate to see slots taken and then not be available for somebody else and then somebody not show up. So it's really
Yeah.
important.
If you're going to commit.
Yeah, and
See,
Red
good
Cross has
question.
about 10 blood drives a year.
Wow. Okay.
And there are other, community blood bank and others. So
Right.
The important thing is to donate.
Okay. Because we do hear about the ones you guys run, and then we'll often hear about ones where local organizations or businesses or people will run one on as part of what they do because it meets similar need, other medical facilities and the like.
Right.
Those are all on top of the 10 that American Red Cross does.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. So we talked about how do you guys get funding to do the work that you do? And get the, yeah.
Quite a bit of it's donations.
Okay.
But like the smoke alarms, Kitty will donate smoke alarms. One thing that people may be best that they know, if there's a disaster, people always want to help, which is good, and you can donate money. Do not just start sending things, because lots of times there are things that people send that Red Cross or any organization cannot really use.
Right.
Food that's set aside and is beyond expiration date. So
Right.
best thing to do is financial donations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Or your time, maybe?
Time.
Time, talent, treasure?
And they do have people that are area volunteers. For example, I helped in Louisiana after Hurricane Ida went through.
Okay.
And there are people that are not affiliated with Red Cross, but they will provide transportation to get Red Cross people around
Okay.
the area where they need to be.
Okay.
So, and the nice thing about Red Cross is that when you volunteer, you can get involved in the areas that you are interested in, and you can get involved to the extent that you want to be involved.
Right.
You can get in up to your ankles, or you can get up to here.
Well, we're lucky that you took it up to here, because we're fortunate that you're in our community and providing this resource for our community. We certainly have needs clearly. So
Well, and like the smoke alarms again is so important.
Yeah.
People need to call. Since 2019, there have been 333 fatalities in Indiana from home fires.
statewide. Okay.
And just since the beginning of 2023 until March the 6th, there have been 26.
That's too many.
too many.
That's too many. Yes, and often we do hear the culprit that the smoke alarm either wasn't working or there wasn't one at all. So
And when we go in, we do installation, we do education, and we do documentation. So we talk about how to prevent fires, because the smoke alarm is not going to prevent the fire.
right.
Our own personal behavior
Will
prevents
prevent the
fire.
fire. Well, we're going to have to leave it there today, but wow, that was a lot of information, wonderful information. And for our viewing audience, we put up a lot of ties to websites and so forth that will get you in connection with Dana, or if you want to volunteer or participate, that information will be there.
And I
So.
think a lot of people know me locally. I've been in Richmond since 1980, so if they know
Yeah.
me, they can call me.
Yes, they can track you down.
yeah,
They
get a
can
hold
for
of me.
sure. They can for sure. As we wrap up this episode of the Third Sector, I want to thank my guests on today's show, Dana Mollenkopf from the American Red Cross, and earlier Stephen Hensley from Richmond, Director of Richmond STEAM Academy. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Third Sector.